Hi, I'm Marie Cook, co-founder of Nathaniel's Hope, and so happy to have you join with us today. Um, Nathaniel's Hope is dedicated to celebrating kids with special needs, as well as equipping you and your journey with your VIP kid. And so, as we prepare for school, we know there's a lot of excitement, but we know there's anticipation. And so, with that today, we thought it'd be good to kind of address that anxiety that can come along with starting school. And so, helping kids with back to school anxiety is what we're going to be talking about today. We're excited to have Brianna Cook Edwards with us. She's a licensed mental health counselor, registered play therapist, and probably most importantly, Nathaniel's sister. So, Brianna, we're very happy to have you with us to share some very insightful information today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I've got some content for you all that I hope is going to be so helpful no matter where your child's at. You know, some kids really, really struggle this time of year and other kids don't, and that's okay. There's such a wide range of normal, if we can call it. And so let's just jump in and start talking about some different things that are helpful to you, hopefully. All right. So, first, I wanted to just throw up some mental health statistics for you. Um, Obviously, our kids are coming from all different backgrounds. And I know that if you're watching this, um, there's going to be such a wide range of presenting symptoms and diagnoses. But what the CDC tells us, and these are old statistics, but 9.8% of our kids struggle with ADHD, 9.4% struggle with anxiety, 8.9% have behavior problems, and then 4.4% struggle with depression. And I believe these numbers are even still low because of just time. More time has passed, more events have happened in the past 8 years. And so this is something to keep in mind, though, because we know that our kids are going to school and experiencing these issues. And so today, specifically of these, we're going to be talking about anxiety because it is extra high this time of year. So some common back to school fears. So I am a licensed mental health counselor and registered play therapist, as she said. And so I work exclusively with kids ages 3 to 18 and their parents. And the things that I've seen that kids are most anxious for in going back to school is fear of the unknown, especially when starting a new school. And they might bring up a question like, what will my teachers be like? Who will I eat lunch with? How will I find my classes? Will the work be hard? Fear of not having friends or being bullied. Gosh, this is such a big one. And I know that our kids that are neurodivergent or have disabilities can be especially at risk for this. And so even as a parent, you might be worried, like, is my kid going to get bullied? Then our kids have separation anxiety, fear of being away from mom or dad, and then fear of not performing well with their grades. Some of our kids are just so performance oriented perfectionists and they're comparing to other students. These are just some of the fears, some of the main fears that I've seen, but certainly there are others that cause anxiety for our kids. Other things that I wanted to just mention that make anxiety worse are lack of sleep. You might see this with yourself. Too much screen time and electronic use. More and more research is surfacing about this and just how screen time impacts our kids. So really be mindful of how much screen time your child is using and what the guidelines are from the American Academy of Pediatrics for how much screen time your child should have based off their age. We also have hormonal changes, especially for our kids that are in the puberty range. Middle school, I see being an especially difficult time for this, that can contribute to more anxiety. Poor diet, too much sugar and caffeine can make things worse. And then if our child has a trauma history, maybe there's already been scary, stressful things at school that have happened, or other medical related traumas or friend related traumas, just family things that can all cause a higher baseline anxiety. So what could already be a stressful situation with school gets even worse if there's already underlying anxiety symptoms. So I have broken down today's little presentation into 5 steps for helping your child. And I hope that it'll be really concise and clear and easy for you to navigate with your child. So the 5 steps are: first, attune, and I'll talk about what that means. Second is empathize. 3 is regulate. 4 is problem solve. And 5 is plan. So first, we're going to start out with attune. What does that mean? This is one of my favorite words in the therapy world of what I do. Attuning is noticing what your child is saying with their words, facial expressions, and body language. What are they feeling or experiencing in the moment? And it's not just what they're saying with words. I'm really leaning in and noticing, what is their body language telling me? What are their facial expressions telling me? All of their nonverbals, because those communicate just as much as words do. When we're attuning, we don't want to ignore, dismiss, minimize, or judge. We really want to just accept our child for where they're at and what their struggle is. Even if your child's emotions and experience don't make sense to you, it's their reality. And so we just have to take it for what it is, where they're at right now. Attuning doesn't mean that you have to agree with them. Attuning means I see you, I hear you, you matter. And don't we want all of our kids to feel that and know that from us? Oftentimes, without us even intentionally doing so, by making a minimizing or dismissing comment, our kid just feels missed. And I hear this from kids and teens quite often. And so we really want to attune and notice them in the way that they need us to. And this also includes being emotionally and physically present. So I'm not just in the room scrolling my phone. I'm here with them with my whole body, mind, soul, spirit, everything is with my child. So when you're attuning, things you might notice if your child has anxiety would be a stomach ache or a headache, nausea, fatigue, tension, butterflies in the stomach, sweaty palms, fast heartbeat, weakness, rapid or shallow breathing. I'll say for young children, I often see stomach aches and headaches being 2 of the top anxiety symptoms. Butterflies in the stomach, yes. Sometimes we have to explain to them what that means because they can miss that analogy or metaphor. So that is something you can teach them to help them understand that sensation. But really look out for those stomach aches and headaches, and just feeling like they're going to throw up or feeling sick. Other signs to look for might be your child isolating in their room, escaping to video games and electronics, overthinking and constantly worrying, difficulty sleeping, having negative self-talk, overeating, or not wanting to eat. We can go on either side of that. And then being clingy with a parent, not wanting to be alone. These are all different signs that our child could exhibit. They might not, but these are just, these things give us clues that something else could be going on, that maybe our child hasn't even told us about. So I just want to pause and ask this question to you. What do you need in order to be present with your child in a moment that they're struggling? Because in order for us to attune to our child, we first have to attune to ourselves. We are so busy. We've got so much going on. We're so saturated by our own stress and worries. And we're just managing so many things as parents. And so in any given moment, can you pause and take a deep breath? Do you need to go get a drink of water, or have a snack? Maybe you're running off of just coffee and you haven't paid attention to the fact that your stomach's growling and you're starting to get a little hangry. Do you need to step outside and get some fresh air for just 5 minutes? What is your body asking for? we need to meet those needs first so that we can lean in and attune to our kids and really give them our full presence. And so I encourage you to even just jot something down right now that would be helpful to you next time your child needs something, next time you need something, what can you do for yourself first? Okay, number 2 is empathize. This is also kind of reflective listening if you've heard that term, but really we want to use a gentle and kind voice and body posture when we're saying these things to our child. So we might normally say something like, "Why are you nervous? You'll do great. You don't need to be worried. You already know everyone." Okay. At face value, that sounds pretty good, right? But all of those things are actually kind of dismissive in nature. And our child is not going to feel seen, heard, and understood if we talk like that. Um, so we really want to try this other dark purple box. You're feeling nervous about school starting. You have a new teacher, a new classmates. You aren't sure what to expect. That feels scary. And you notice even in the way that I am talking, I'm really trying to show that I care. My voice is going to reflect that. I often encourage parents to use the you stem, you're feeling. Um, and that's a good place to start. You see that there, you're feeling nervous. Whatever you noticed in that first step of attuning, this is the time that we call it out and we verbalize it ourselves to empathize with our child. Okay, so this is really important because we can't get to the other stuff of practically helping our child until they know that we're here with them, we see them, and they're not alone. And that's what attuning and empathizing does. The third step is to regulate. And this step is focused on meeting the needs of your child's body and nervous system. So, we're going to get to the brain later, but I like to start with the body because, that slide I had earlier with physical symptoms in the body like nausea, headache, stomach ache, shaking, sweaty palms, those are all body-based symptoms that need our attention. And so regulation helps us bring the body back to a state of calm. It's not always calm, but just homeostasis where we're stable and we're not keyed up or shut down. And so things we can do would be to get our child outside, away from screens and electronics, as I already talked about earlier. Get your child moving and exercising. Fresh air and movement outside are two easy things that are so incredibly therapeutic and regulating. Help your child eat healthy snacks and drink water as consistently as possible. It sounds so basic, but even if they're not getting the proper nutrition or their blood sugars aren't stable, that's gonna mess with their whole body and make anxiety worse. Play a game together. This is connecting, and connection and playful engagement both reduce anxiety. You can encourage them to color, draw, or journal for the older ones. Being able to just name how they're feeling and what's going on. There's power in that, and research shows that if we name something, it will tame it. Name it to tame it. So that can be helpful. Practicing gratefuls as a family, just acknowledging what are the things that you're thankful for in this moment. That's, that probably should go on a different list because that's not as body-based, but it's still a really good thing to do. Practicing deep breathing together. I love using bubbles for this, or I have like a breathing ball that expands and collapses, or just different tools that are kind of disguised because I often find that kids don't want to practice deep breathing. It's just not really fun. So if you can have another tool like bubbles or um, just some other object that moves or changes to help assist with the breathing, that will help their willingness in participating. And then listening to fun or calming music. If you find your child is more shut down when they're anxious and they kind of just collapse, then we want to listen to more upregulating music, as we call it. So it's going to be more upbeat, um, maybe more fast paced. And we can even have a little dance party with them. If they're already keyed up, then we want to listen to more calming and soothing music that's going to be down regulating for their nervous system. Does that make sense? So that's the regulation piece. I do so much with regulation in my work. And this is what a lot of OTs do also, is just body-based work and helping our child gain awareness of what is going on inside and what is their body telling us that it needs in any given moment. And so this applies not just to anxiety, but anytime, any day. But I encourage you to really use these skills when your child is struggling with back to school anxiety. All right, number 4 is problem solve. And I like to recommend just asking your child the basic question, what feels scariest about going back to school? So, like I said, we start with leaning in and noticing um, what our child is feeling or experiencing. We empathize with them. We help them calm their body by regulating their nervous system. And then we're able to move into, once the body's a little bit more calm, we can access the thinking brain better. That part of the brain is able to come back online and be engaged. And then we can problem solve and help meet our child's needs. And so that can look like some dialogue and having some more maybe cognitive discussions depending on our child's level of development. But we can lean into conversation to help them give us more information to help them back, if that makes sense. So asking your child what feels scariest about going back to school will give us a lot of information about what they're most worried about. And you could even use that first list I had on the slide to ask them, like, do any of these things, are you worried about any of these things? If your child is more nonverbal, you could even create like a picture chart and have your child like choose pictures for, I'm worried about friends, or I'm worried about lunchtime, or I'm worried about my teacher being scary, or the work itself, and find clip art for each of those and have them select that way. Um, I also create a list sometimes in Word, like just sentences of things that a child might be concerned about, and then use stickers. And if a child isn't a big talker, I'll have them read the list and put stickers next to the things that feel scary to them. Um, is there something that the child needs to know? Like sometimes our kids just are missing information that they need to be able to move through the anxiety. Are there questions you can ask the school to get answers for them? Um, is there something we can provide as a comfort measure that they could take to school with them? These are all things that, with our adult brains that know more information, we know more people at the school maybe, or we know what accommodations are there. We can help equip our child with the tools that they need to help them feel more calm. And so some practical things for this could be, bringing a love note from you, the parent, to school. Like, does the child want to create a picture with you that's really special? If they're worried about being separated from you, could an encouraging note make them feel connected to you when you're apart? Positive affirmation sticky notes. Are there just little words of encouragement that would be helpful for them to hear? These are things I want to ask my child and get their feedback on. What would be meaningful to them? Um, Is it arriving early to get settled so you're not rushing into school in the morning and it's just complete chaos, which is gonna inevitably make anxiety worse? Or is it using some of the regulation tools that you're doing at home at school? And how can we help our child make those connections? Sometimes our kids, depending on especially our kids that are maybe a little more neurodivergent, it might be hard for them to generalize and take the skills from home to school. And so we really want to walk them through what would it look like applying the things we've been practicing at home in the school setting. Those are just some examples of what problem solving could look like. So in problem solving, we're really helping our child prepare. And these are some other ways that you can help your child prepare for school. Meeting teachers in advance. I know so many schools, I feel like most schools probably have a meet the teacher. Do your best to get to that event if it hasn't happened already. I know we're like, you're probably watching this like right before the first week of school. Is there any way to connect with that teacher beforehand? The kids often worry like, am I going to have a strict teacher? Is my teacher going to be scary? How can we get a face-to-face with our child to help them feel like, oh, my teacher isn't as scary as I thought. Hopefully that's the case. Walk the school so you can see where classes are, especially for our kids in transition years between 5th and 6th grade or 8th and 9th grade, where they're having to change classes and they don't know the school. Can we help our child map out where they're going? Like if they're responsible for getting themselves to each place, they might need a little bit of help mapping out and figuring out where each class is. Can you even get on the school campus and practice that to give them the muscle memory so that it's not all new on the first day of school? Identify what they can do and who they can talk to if they need help. This is a big one because there's things that come up throughout the day that are just unpredictable, or maybe a child is already getting bullied on the first day of school. Who can they tell? We want to equip our child with templates of knowing who to talk to, who to ask for help from, what they can do, what they can say. Our kids can just not have this information, and this is stuff that we can equip them with. So number 5 there, like I was just saying, building templates for situations that are unknown and new. So this can include scripting language that they can use to talk with peers or teachers, and especially for our kids who struggle socially with social anxiety, who are on the autism spectrum, or just have any other neurodivergency, being able to equip them with words of what they can say and even practice role plays. I do role plays with Barbies, with little toys, with puppets, and even just like acting out in real time, just with ourselves. Practicing conversations can be really, really helpful in decreasing that anxiety. Okay, and then the 5th thing is plan. We're gonna take all the things that all the clues we've gathered from attuning and empathizing and regulating and problem solving, and we're gonna make a plan for going forward into this new school year. So we can make a picture chart or a written schedule or even a Google shared calendar for our like older teens. If your child is on the autism spectrum or needs that predictability, you are probably already familiar with using a picture chart, to show the plan for the day. But think about how helpful this is going into school, and especially when we're in a big transition time. Transitions are often triggering for not just our kids that are neurodivergent, but also our kids that have a trauma history. We really, really want to offer them predictability. And so a picture chart or written schedule that is accessible to them at home and at school is really going to help with this. And if you even just go on like Etsy or Pinterest, there's so many different examples of different templates you can use, so you're not having to start from scratch. In that schedule, you can include things like your morning routine, your drop off and pickup, school day activities, class schedule, evening routine. All of that is going to be helpful. You can even draw pictures together if that can help give your child buy-in to want to use this schedule or use a whiteboard. I would also encourage you to start your bedtime routine now. Depending on when you're watching this or where you're located in the US, you might be starting school a little bit later in August. So it's not too early to get into that earlier bedtime routine if you've kind of gotten off track for summer. It will help provide consistency leading up to school so that there's not too much newness all at once. And then I also encourage you to create a back to school mantra to build positive thinking and self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is the belief I can do it. What phrase is helpful to your child for them to believe like I can do this? It could literally be that I can do it. I can handle it. I can learn to handle this. I am brave. I am strong. What is meaningful to them? I can ask for help. And then you can even make a little poster and decorate it, have them take that to school or a little sticky note, have that poster in their bathroom. And that be a phrase that you just repeat over and over together, which will help build new neural pathways in the brain to override some of those more anxious beliefs that might be getting them stuck. One other idea for you is to create a parent-child connection ritual. This is going to help all of our kids, even if they don't have anxiety. It's just a sweet thing to do. But I encourage you to brainstorm with your child something they'd like to do with you each day before or after school. So ideas could be a 30-second dance party to their favorite song, card karaoke, a 10-minute card game, a special handshake or a hug at drop-off. All of these things help your child feel safe, secure, and connected when away from you. And it's really something that they can look forward to. It's your special thing. And so, being away at school is a long time of separation, and that's a big transition. A connection ritual can help with that transition. I even have a book that I love, and the two characters in the book do little matching tattoos. And so you could even consider that, like drawing matching tattoos on you and your child at the start of the day. And every time they look down at it, they know that you're thinking of them and that you're still connected, even though apart. So those are just some creative things that you can try to help your child through this really big time of transition. I do want to say when to seek professional help for your child. You know, if your child has persisting symptoms that last beyond the first few weeks of school, and it's impacting their ability to function in normal daily activities, then that kind of is a warning sign for us that we might want to get them some extra help. If your child is, let's say, 12 years or under, play therapy is especially beneficial. That's what I do. You'll see my office back here. It's all games and toys. The therapy is geared for meeting your child at their level of development, which is also super helpful for kids that have disabilities. So that's just something to consider if you notice this pattern of your child struggling and it's not just the initial transition, but it continues, you know, let's say into September. I often see an uptick in new client calls around September because that's when we start to see lingering symptoms and behavioral issues. So just something to keep in mind. My final thought I'm going to leave with you is that it's normal. It's normal for the first week of school to be a little rocky and bring anxiety for the whole family. This is a big, big transition. So just give yourself grace and do what you need to do, mom and dad, to equip yourself to be available to your child and whatever they might need as you navigate this. And you will make it through. You've done it before, you'll do it again. So if you have any questions or want to reach out to me, this is my information. But thank you all so much for sticking with us to the end.
Thank you, Brianna. Such great, helpful information, not just applicable for going back to school, but I think a lot of pointers, just life, good life coaching for folks. So thank you. And I wish I would have had this webinar years ago. Anyway, we're here to serve you, and throughout the year, we want to provide helpful points of contact like this for information, just to help you on your journey with your kids and help churches on their journey welcoming kids in. But for more information, you can always go to nathanielshope.org and see other resources that we have. But for today, I just want to thank you, Brianna, for joining us, and thank you all for joining with us. Have a great day, and God bless you. Bye-bye.